I was too quick.
There we go.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Sprint 102 review. Welcome back after the holidays. Hope everyone's recharged, ready for another great year. Next slide, please. So I'll be giving the sprint statistics. Harpreet will go over with UI changes. Julian will be giving us an update on all the providers. Tina will talk about all the work in Automate. And Joe V will tell us about the platform. Next slide, please. Okay, so the stats show that most of the changes are coming in on the integration test repo, which is good. The test team continues to increase the automated test suite, which is a great thing for us. Better coverage. And then coming close behind, where UI Classic and ManageIQ are pretty neck and neck on changes. Next slide, please. And as you see, there's a slight dip in the number of merged, but we have the holidays in there and a lot of PTO, so that's not surprising. Expect that to start trending up again after this sprint. Next slide, please. And again, the types were mostly in the test area. About a quarter of all the tickets were test. Bugs and enhancements came in pretty close to each other. There's also a fair amount of refactoring and tech debt. That's about a quarter also, and we're at a good phase where we're starting to clean up some of the old hanging crud that's out there. So that's a new start to the year. Next slide, please. And the overall health was pretty static. The only one change was the Lenovo provider had a slight uptick in duplication, but nothing really outstanding there. Next slide, please. And on to Harpreet.
Thanks, Dennis. Hello, everyone. In the last sprint, we had a total of 40 PRs merged across all of the UI repos. We had lesser number of PRs merged due to holiday break. So out of that, 18 were bug fixes, 3 enhancements, 6 technical debt, and so on. I have few of the main PRs highlighted here. As for bug fixes, a bug was fixed in dashboard widget editor where role and group visibility options were not being saved. A similar fix was made in custom buttons area during last sprint. And on the request details screen, there was some cleanup done by Eric. Some of the logic was removed that was causing Automate to run depending upon fields in the dialog. That was not necessary while displaying the details screen. And a regression was fixed in the add and edit report schedule screen. Also, there were few of the bugs fixed, or I should say the missing translatable labels were added to several screens. I have listed some of the PRs there. And on the enhancement side, there was a change made in product features area. Now a user can give access to manage quota feature for each of the tenants individually. I have a screenshot of that. And then a change was made in service UI to get logo to be displayed on the login screen and in the navigation area on the top through API instead of having those hard-coded. Also on the V2V side, a change was made to prevent automatic closing of modal when clicking on the background overlay. Next slide, please. The screenshot is a bit blurry, but as you can see on the left, there's a user that does not have access to manage quota for alpha tenant and has access to manage quota for omega tenant. And the 2 screenshots on the right show that the manage quota button is only available for tenant omega and not available for the alpha tenant. And that's all I have on the UI side. Next slide, please.
Hi, welcome to the Providers Update. So it's Julian here taking over for Adam this week as he's getting married in a couple of weeks, so he's off preparing for that. So we wish him all the best in his future endeavour. Next slide, please. So we had quite a good turnout for PRs the last sprint, mainly bug fixes and improvements, mostly in the in the virtual provider, arena. So next slide. So we've improved in the core ManageIQ repository saving for snapshots. So before we had to do a lookup to find all the parents and children of snapshots, and that was some custom code. So now we can just use the built-in Rails Finder methods, and so that's been implemented for both VMware and Overt. Also, in core, we've added a integrity flag, and so you can test the integrity of the graph in the base persister, but this is turned off by default in production, and it's turned on in development. Over with Overt, there was a bug where targeted refresh didn't actually finish its relationships with the host provider, and so that was causing a bug, and so that's now been fixed. And also with targeted inventory, that now returns a inventory collector as opposed to an array, and so that's kind of now the same with all of the other providers. Over on OpenStack, we had a bug where cloud tenants were deleted because basically we had to make sure that the cache reference was refreshed before we did the collection to make sure everything was okay. And then again, over with OpenStack, we've removed the legacy network collector from the old refresh parser. So that's it for providers this week. Next slide, please.
Thanks, Julian. Good morning. We had 13 PRs merged this sprint. Eric resolved an issue where dynamic dialog methods were executed when a service request was open for review and a request approval. Lucy resolved an issue where an Ansible Tower workflow job failure caused an error if the raw standard out was not available. Drew fixed the problem where the retirement requester was getting cleared at the end of retirement, and Drew also resolved an Ansible service retirement issue where we were trying to create a job retired task, which isn't necessary since jobs are not retirable. Lucy modified the service check retired automate method to look at the retire request subtask to determine if the retirable subservices have finished retirement. The goal is to make retirement more in line with provisioning as far as request and task processing. That's it for automate. Next slide, and over to Joe.
All I have to do is find my unmute button. Sorry about the delay. Yeah, the platform space saw 18 PRs merge this sprint, with Joe, Mr. Learn to YAML Raffagnello, continuing the Ruby version bump effort with many PRs across multiple branches and 6 in the platform space. Keenan did some refactoring of the tag model. For enhancements, Keenan also continued the effort of improving our test infrastructure, and Libor made some enhancements to tenant replication. Next slide, please. In this bug fixes, the sprint Libor fixed a UI bug where when product feature changes were entered, the update button was not being activated. So he made sure that the update button would be live after changes. And that's it for us. On to the next slide for the summary.
All right, that does it for today for Sprint 102. We'll get back together again on the 23rd for Sprint 103 review. We're going to have a great next few weeks. Thank you.